Well,
right.
Welcome back.
Welcome.
This is E&L, Unsupervised. And we took a little bit of a month break.
It was summer.
It was summertime. We got a little busy. We enjoyed family. We, traveled, went camping.
I don't know if that's traveling. But
Depends. It depends on how you consider that. But I think it's traveling, right?
Yeah.
But we had all of the intentions to do the podcast in July, but then life got the best of us, which is totally normal, I think, and we should appreciate and embrace it.
Now we're back in Texas.
And we
back
are
in Dallas.
Back in Texas. We're traveling, and we're here with Smitty. We call him Smitty, but full name Scott.
Yeah. Scott Smith is so common.
Smith is so common. But we're excited because today we're going to be chatting about relationships and building those relationships, networking. What does that mean in a professional setting? And how can we maintain those relationships? So we're just going to go in and out of that space.
Yeah, and we have Smitty here because he is one of the best when it comes to relationships and really maintaining those relationships and building relationships. And they always said you knew everybody in this town, and I didn't believe it until we went to a Mavericks game, and you literally knew everybody there. And I just thought that was so impressive, and you really make people feel special. So I figure we'll have you do an introduction of just yourself and maybe a little bit about what you've been doing, and then we'll kind of jump into our podcasting questions.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, my name is Scott Smith, but I don't answer to Scott, as you know, so it's weird I have two names. But grew up in Kansas City, got an engineering degree from Kansas State University, and got into the construction industry, and then obviously moved down to Texas where it's a better construction career and environment, all that. So I've been down there for almost 30 years.
Wow.
Which helped me build my network and relationships and all that. But I started on the operations side, being a project manager, and then that's when my boss was kind of saying, you do a lot of repeat work and your jobs come in pretty well. And I go, well, I have relationships with the clients. So when you start the next project and you've already worked with them before, there's already trust built up, and you can just have better outcomes and overcome problems a lot easier.
Yeah.
Right.
So then they said, well, why don't you do that for the whole company? So I had no formal sales training. I just learned the hard way and what works and doesn't work. And that's how I got to where I'm at today. And it's funny because I've done some more later in life sales training and lessons and, conferences. And a lot of the stuff they teach is kind of validates what I've learned the hard way.
Yeah.
Oh, crazy. So was it, when you did engineering, was it specific to one?
Construction. It was definitely a construction program.
Oh, neat.
So I was learning, steel design, just, engineering, estimating, heating, air conditioning, electrical. Of course, I'm like, oh, I don't need to know electrical because I'm going to be a general contractor.
Right.
Then I graduated during a recession, and they're not pouring concrete building structure, but MEP is always needed. And that's how I launched that path.
And you went right into an electrical contractor, right?
Yeah.
How long were you working as a project management before you made the switch over to business development?
I'd say probably 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And then so when they kind of start seeing the growth and the repeat volume and stuff like that, and they're like, because it's better to bid less and win more work because if they want you on the site and they have confidence and trust in you.
Yeah.
So then the biggest shift halfway through that career was I felt like all my credibility was because I'm there on the job site like every day, solving the problems. I'm the point person.
Right.
Now when you're corporate sales, you have to trust your team to maintain the daily stuff and still have the pulse of what's going on and report back. And, because there's three sides to every story. There's their side, our side, and then the truth.
Right.
So, they're always calling saying, you're behind, and you go out there and there's a pile of dirt. It's like, we can't even put conduit in the ground because you haven't graded the site.
Right.
But that's my job is to kind of go back, communicate the bad news, because the only thing worse than bad news is bad news late.
Yeah.
Right.
So I always want to stay connected with them and with our ops team too. So I don't just sign the deal and then leave it.
Yeah.
Which it gives me the credibility to, try to ask for the next job and make sure
always
Royal
a lot
gets
of
hired.
Responsibility because it's our teams have to perform out in the field and then say they're going to do and say what you had sold them, and it's a lot of pressure.
Well, it goes both ways, and then they don't like that people are calling me about what they don't like on our job, so I've got to take the emotion out of it. But that's where I think I can diffuse it and go, here's the deal. This is the perception. I go, and if you don't tell them the truth or fill in the gaps, the perception becomes a reality. So if there's that image that, we're behind or this is going wrong, we have to communicate that back and not just get mad, because otherwise it will become fact, even though it's not fact.
Right.
So I've just kind of learned that through time, that it's got to be constant check-ins and communication.
What do you love about your role?
Oh, well, I love just being connected to a bigger team. That's exciting, because at first there's a trust issue going, I'm not the PM. I don't know every deal. I don't know every detail. So now it's like everyone we just got to share more information. And being an extrovert, I've learned that I gain energy by interacting with people. Some people it wears them out. I kind of thrive on it. So if I can go to a group outing, as you can see, I sometimes get stronger later or in the evening when we go to games or client entertainment.
100%.
So,
I could tell when you're in the office, like in the like your office space, like in the office, you do look a little like down, but then once you get outside and are in the like community spaces, you just turn on, like you turn alive. It's almost like, whoa, like you cannot be like in this small little
I would not
office.
do well remote.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you would. Yeah, you could tell in the office space.
And I love being around people too. But I'm almost kind of opposite of you, where I am an extrovert. Love being around people, but it drains the battery, so I have to go recharge.
Well, I'm not. I mean, as I get
do you
older,
recharge?
Yeah, I do. And the one thing I do kind of lean on, because now that I do have the relationships, like when you're early on in relationship and client building, you have to be face to face. Is very important to build those true connections. Yeah. But now, since those are already established, I can, with a phone call or text, get some key information that we might need without having to take the whole hour to drive across the town and get on someone's calendar, try to find out what's really going on. So and that gets back to that whole trust.
Yeah. What were you like as a kid?
Oh, it was a handful.
Yeah.
Well, my parents told me first I was an accident, so they were done. So that gives you a lot of confidence. They were like, "Oh yeah, we gave all the baby stuff to my sister. We didn't need it because we were done." So there's an age gap between my two older brothers and I. So it's very clear that I was not planned. So.
And you knew it coming out.
Yeah, so I had to make sure they remembered me. So I definitely want to make sure people feel me and remember me. So I've always been. My mom says like my oldest brother can go in a room with a bunch of people and not meet one person, and I can leave the room, know everybody.
Yeah, and everybody knows you.
And all my family, most of my families are teachers, so they thought I would be a teacher because of that environment, but they were kind of happy I didn't go into teaching.
Were you first-gen construction in your family?
Yeah, so I found my own way. Actually, I was in college. I was just in a big general business program, and I was just kind of lost going to those big classes with 300 people, and my buddy's like, hey, why are you down? And I'm like, I just, don't really have a direction. He goes, well, go talk to my dad. He's a counselor and he's a professor on campus. And it was in the architectural engineering, construction science. And he was just hardcore. Got me. He goes, well, there's no bigger business than construction. And it just he got me fired up. And I switched my degree to engineering and never looked back. So they changed my whole trajectory.
That's very cool.
So and I'm thankful. And I'm still in touch with his dad, and I still see him. I mean, we have some. That's also what I'm really proud of is like my personal relationships are very strong and long.
I was going to ask that, and that's kind of where the question stemmed from. What was it like growing up for you? Because I feel like some of this relationship building and establishing relationships stemmed early on in your life. Well, can you share a little bit about kind of where that maybe you, I don't know, how you learned that along the way, or experiences that opened that door for you?
Yeah, it's somewhat painful at times because one of my older brothers has special needs. So when you have an older brother that's 6'2", big, but has the mind of a child, it puts you as the younger brother in kind of awkward at times.
Yeah.
So I had to learn to talk, because you're dealing with other kids either picking on my older brother, or I'm trying to explain to him that, hey, you're in middle school, you shouldn't be playing in the sandbox anymore, and he doesn't understand that I could do it, so I stopped doing things like that. So just kind of, but then, those tough times where you just go, why do we have a special needs brother? And then it turned out to actually make me a better person. So it's a tough. Well, it's still a tough thing.
Yeah, of course,
because we still support him, and he lives in an apartment. He's got independent living with counselors, and there's a whole support system working for him.
Yeah.
But it just, it's
Well, it makes
different.
sense. I have a special needs son as well. And so it makes sense. So a lot of your time early on was spent learning and advocating and communicating that to others, right? And I feel like that kind of helped you along the way in terms of that, building that relationship or establishing relationships with others at all different ages, right? Because you deal probably at that stage, you didn't realize that you were probably dealing with adults who didn't understand it either.
Oh no,
right?
not back then. And I'm really proud of my 3 children. They've really, they have no hiccups. They're not shy. My kids have always volunteered at school with all the handicap programs.
Right.
My son Jake, he helped a boy win the gold medal in the Special Olympics, and co-coaching, and like Mitch and Brooke got into nursing because she just that caring heart. So I'm just really proud that all 3 of them are just so engaged and not intimidated by anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Even
really
Mitch,
cool.
which is the number 3, which I'm number 3. He's not an accident, but if you're listening, Mitch, I wanted you, Mitch. Don't worry. And they're really great with people of all ages.
Yeah.
And I personally also brought them into business clients environments when they were young.
So they
Like when Brooke was in grade school, she had business cards, and she'd go on sales calls. I took her to all my female clients downtown Dallas, and she had to do a sales presentation.
Very cool.
So just,
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah,
Put her in
so-
the hot seat. That's so cool.
Hopefully it's paying off. So
I'm sure it is.
she still talks to me, so I guess I'm okay.
Still good.
So those relationships are good.
Yeah. And your kids are all great. And I think you've got one left in college, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the third one, yes.
Yeah,
so
we were just talking about
two
that.
out of college, and it's a good feeling.
Yeah, that's
Very cool.
great. Well, how did once you made that transition into operations and into this new space, right, where they said, okay, we see that you're really good, which is awesome to have a manager or a leader pull you aside and say, hey, you have something here we need to explore, and give you that opportunity, right? Because that sounds like what this person did for you was saying, like, hey, you continue to get repeat clients, like, let's look at this a little bit more and see what we can do. Did they have at the time like a business development or a sales team or anything like that? So you were
I was one.
You were one.
Yeah.
Okay. So take us back to that time. Like, what did you do? What was the plan?
did you
Did
get
you
started?
have a plan? Like, what?
Well, my first plan was not lose my job. So I said, Mr. Cummings said, hey, I see this in you, which I give him credit. He saw more in me than I saw myself. So he said bigger vision for me.
Yeah.
And so then I said, well, now I'm going to full overhead, because now I'm kind of spending money and just kind of full overhead, whereas a project manager or department head, you show up with your financials of what the job's earned. So that gave me security that said, hey, we earn this money this month, and I get to stay.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, if I go try this to represent us, if it doesn't work out, I want to go back to my old job, because, I just didn't know, because, you're
And the
just...
nice part, you have that technical capability where you could do that.
Well, and the other thing is I wouldn't want to hire an outside person, because I grew up in that company, and you have to represent that company. Right. So even though I might not have all the technical knowledge of every department, at least I know which customer needs to talk to which person, if it's estimating, design, engineer, service, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
So I wanted to represent the company, and that's what I do for Royals. So that's what I have to believe in who I represent, because it has to be genuine.
Yeah, I feel like that's very similar to recruiting.
It is for
right?
me too. I have to, if I'm selling a bill of goods and it's not, people don't have that same experience when they come in the door, that's my reputation. And so it's very much about, believing in what you're selling and the people that you're around, and the vision of the company. So I talk a lot about that. Very similar.
When I met you, you stood out because you picked me up at the airport personally. It would have been real easy to just send a car or tell me to Uber and we'll reimburse you.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to do, those little things to stand out and understand from the other person's point of view. So that was my first impression of Royal Electric, was you picking me up at the airport and having a conversation. So
Yeah.
those, and that's what I try to do with our clients
Yeah.
as we try to spread the word of why we, Royal's the right fit for our clients.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about that, because there is a difference in what makes what you do unique and successful. I think when we talk in general about networking versus actually building relationships, I do believe there's a difference. And maybe you could tell me, like, is there a difference between networking and building relationships?
Yeah, that's a good question, because there is a difference, because relationships are real and networking is just, to me, kind of fodder, and it's checkbox, it's
Yeah, you got a
volume
business
stuff.
card,
You met someone, you talk about it, whatever, send emails, whatever. So like I coach the younger folks, and I try to teach everyone at Royal that we're all in sales, because if you're it's not just my job. It's like if you're an estimator and you're doing a job walkthrough and this and that, we all need to kind of put our sales hat on without scaring them to death that they're in sales.
Right.
But I go look at it from the client's perspective. When they have a project that comes out to bid, they need 40 to 50 subcontractors to build one job. Mm-hmm. Well, every trade has 3 to 5 bidders. Think how many people are calling them for information and this and that. So you have to stand out. You have to add value to the relationship. So one thing is, I don't wait till all of a sudden you put out, I have a hospital build, and then all of a sudden we all race and invite you to lunch.
Yeah.
I maintain that relationship
throughout.
In between when there's downtime.
You're not working with them.
And I had a really good client that told me when they went through a growth transition where they were really high in the market and they were the hot thing in town, and then when they transitioned and started a new company, only 2 people showed up at the Christmas time with a little holiday gift basket, and it was me. It's funny, it's actually my brother-in-law as well, that because our relationship was genuine.
Wow.
And then just reinforced that half the stuff is networking, and I hate to call it fake.
Yeah.
It's not genuine. And that stood out. And like I said, so then when a project does hit the street, everyone comes out of the woodwork chasing them. And if you already have a relationship, you're already there. So, it's not people sometimes say it's a numbers game, but if it's truly targeted and you focus on the good clients, you can actually bid less and win more.
I actually agree with that. Even from my point of view, from a recruiting standpoint, it's if you have kind of know who the players are in that market, and you're networking and you're building relationships with people earlier on. It doesn't have to be 100 calls just to get that one person. It's if you have a relationship, you can pick up the phone, you can have a lunch, you can kind of maintain that. There's many people that, for myself, where it's taken years to get somebody over to a company, and it took time. It was
a lot of
all about
factors.
timing and that sort of thing. So I agree.
Yeah, you're almost playing the long game, because for someone like me, it's intimidating going into like some of these networking events and meeting people, and then you meet these people, and then you're like, okay, what do I do with this information, right? Like, how do what's next here? And you talk about targeted, right? So I'm sure when you go do these things and you're meeting other people and you're engaging with them, I guess my question is how do you take it from a business card to now I'm going to take you out to lunch. I'm going to get to know you a little bit better. I'm going to share with you what I have, and then see if there's, I guess, a commonality. Is that what's happening, I guess, at that point? In building that relationship?
I always try to approach it as we're here to see if it's a good fit for both of us.
Right.
Because they expect to hear from me how great we are, how safe we are, and we're the cheapest price. It's kind of white noise when you look at it from their point of view. The 50 subcontractors all trying to get their work is saying the same thing. And when I come there and go, I don't know if we're going to be a good fit for you. I want to learn more about you.
Yeah.
And then go, and so you have no electrical pain or you have no electrical issues with your current team, because you got to remember, if we get the contract from them, it was taken from someone else that's probably done a lot of work with them. Right. So you just got to kind of look at it from their point of view and just think about those factors. And then it kind of disarms them when I'm saying, I don't know if we're a good fit. I'm just here to, see if we match up, if we're culturally, safety wise and all that.
Yeah.
And then that kind of gets them to open up, because they're on the defense. And so like when in my past life, when I had a full sales team, when we're further along, I used to track the salespeople's activities were what is important. Was it face-to-face meetings or just text and emails? Because there's a difference if you're spending time with a client. And I even would ask for input of, was it after hours, like going to a game or going to an industry event, or is going like on a way to a 3-day conference? If they're taking time away from their family to be with you, that tells me you're building that relationship, because you can still you can just do a bunch of emails and get some tidbits of information.
Right. And we were talking a little bit about that yesterday, about the difference between just the interactions at an email level versus and a text level versus an actual conversation and that in-person, meeting.
I always say in person is always the best. Emails, I feel like, are almost like a dying thing, and text is now like the new way of a quick answer.
Yeah.
Well, and then it takes time for in person. It takes effort, right?
Yeah.
But like, how many times in the past have your kids or spouse showed you a text? Go, how do you interpret this?
True.
You do that all the time.
All the time.
What does she mean by this?
Right.
Am I in trouble, or is this, or what? Because it's vague. But if we're face to face and you say, you're late, but you're laughing at me, and I can, that's why you can pick up the tone, the eye contact, everything we're doing right now is a connection. And people are more likely, I forgot what the stats show, but if you just feel connected to the person, you're going to want to buy from them or collaborate with them.
Right.
And that's what you got to put yourself out there.
Right.
Can I dive into, you mentioned that you had a sales team in the past. How, is there anything that you can talk about, as far as mentoring others in the space of business development relationships, and that you do maybe differently than some of the, if you go to a conference and they talk about how to build relationships, anything that you provide to those that are coming up behind you that are, in the same space?
Well, first thing is, like, it's kind of funny how we're in the electrical industry, but we don't hire people with electrical experience. Because the skills that your mom and dad and your environment, your city taught you, those people skills that's more important.
Yeah.
We can teach you the electrical, technical, or what you have to do.
Isn't that funny?
The first thing in the foundation is extrovert. Can you handle yourself? And that's the stuff that, I say mom and dad taught you.
Yeah.
Or someone taught
naturally
you.
Or something.
Yeah. So that's the foundation. And then, like I said, through time, going through a few sales, either, we read books, listen to books, go to a few training deals. There are some good programs out there that help validate, instead of just saying, well, Scott said this, so do it. So it's funny because I can sit there and go, I think the key is like going through specific examples of how I lost a job.
Yeah.
And do the lessons learned, because you just, that's the other thing, is you don't always face the brutal facts of how you lost it. You just want to say, oh, they like the other guy or whatever. And you go, no, we misspoke here. We didn't find out, or what happened is we talked to so-and-so, and that one person said, this is what's important. And we based our whole presentation on that one intel. And that's why I don't have accounts that you call on that contractor and you have that contractor. We're all the sales team calling on them, because you're going to connect with people that I don't connect with.
Right.
And another example of that is, I don't just go over there and take the VP or the top executive out for lunch. I try to do stuff where I take their whole staff, because the assistants, PMs and PEs.
And I've seen that firsthand with you, where we've gone out to events, if it's hockey games, where it's a whole project team, or you're trying to get to know different entities at those companies.
I want all our people to connect at different levels, and those are the decision makers for that company 3 years from now or 5 years from now. So if they have their first, if I snub them, and I learned that when I was an intern in Kansas at a firm where a factory rep would come take the engineers out for lunch, and I was the intern, and they'd always include me, and I was kind of like, I finally pulled at the end of the summer, and I go, hey, I can't buy anything from you. And he goes, but you will someday. And they just kind of reinforced. And when that was my best meal of the week, or my best meal of the month is going out, I just realized the value of that and try to appreciate that, where young people, and that's just going, hey, if they're in the trailer and they're pushing submittals and doing all that, and if they can go included on some of those different marketing events or just lunches,
Yeah.
Gosh, that made me think of so many questions right there. How does someone build a relationship in our line of business, or in any line of business really, when they feel like they don't have anything to give? And that's, like you said, as an intern, you're being invited early on into these conversations. They see the long game, but I can see kind of as an intern thinking that, like, what am I doing here in this space? How do I connect back? What can I do early on in that stage, or what can someone do early on in that stage?
What I see in a lot of young people is they put up walls that don't exist. They outthink themselves, and they're like, well, why would they want to meet with me? Go,
stories.
Or I read this one. I go, stop. Stop right there. You're just putting up walls of, no, just go out there. What are they going to do? Eat you?
Yeah.
No, just take that fear down.
You're going to have people tell you no. I have people tell me no every single day. And then but when you get that yes, or, it's a win and it feels good, then it's that high.
Yeah.
One of the sales training I did later in life was actually the Sandler sales system. And they actually talk about go for the no early. So instead of just dancing around it, you just go, if, you can have a harder conversation, because if they say no now, you can either find ways to overcome it, or if it's not going to work out, move on. Don't just sit there and they call it happy ears and just sit there and go, oh, you're in the running, and keep dancing. Go, hey, if I get to this price, is it our job? Or if, you kind of push in it. Just ask them. And then that's where you have to go, okay, it is kind of a numbers game because we're going to move on. But it's better than just sitting there and go, oh, go give me some literature, bring it back. And you go back and just go, you got to, and that's where you got to have that tough conversation, or talk to your boss or your sales manager and go, hey, is this really going somewhere? And, ask the deeper question instead of just saying, oh, hey, if I can value engineer this and take $1 million out, don't just go do it and give it to them and then they feel no commitment to you. Go, hey, if I get $1 million and hit your target value, is this our job? That's just asking that one more question. That's getting over. I was like, and they're like, oh, I never want to make them mad. I go, well, you got to find out where you stand with them. And I've learned also, when I start inviting people to like events like games or whatever, just you learn about their character by how they accept or decline an invitation. So that's why I personally do it. When I do holiday gifts, I don't just ship them to everyone's office. I take them to the office personally and put them in their break room and mingle with them or whatever, because you just want to, just put your eyes on it. But you invite someone to a game and they're like, oh, I need 3 more tickets for so-and-so, so-and-so. I'll be like, okay, that's probably not a high character person that we want to tie up our Royal Electric resources for 2 years with. If that's how they devalue that. Yeah. So those expenditures, are really testing the market of where you stand and who they are. So I know some people just go, oh, all you do is spend company profits, blah, blah, blah. But people do value what marketing and sales does.
Right. Well, and I'm sure people love seeing you come to the office, and because you always remember everybody's names. You always remember, stories about them, their families, their kids. How do you remember all of that? But it's such a value, and people really, and it doesn't matter if you're a receptionist, if you were working at a game, behind the bar, you remember a lot about people, and it's a very valuable skill, and not everybody has that.
Thank you. Well, I do, like I said, there's like a food chain of developer, general contractor, electrical contractor, suppliers. But I try to treat our suppliers as partners, like we'd want to be treated by the GC. Right. So it is funny because even we have that problem where we want to be partners with the GCs, but then we beat up our suppliers. So we got, because suppliers have a lot of information and they can help and solve problems as well. And when I go to a Rangers game or Stars or Mavs, that staff, I want them to be an extension of Royal, because you got to remember, these clients get invited to everything. Who do they want to go with? And if they go with
Smitty, that knows everybody,
if you're gonna have a better experience. And I mean, those are the attention to details, like picking someone up at the airport. You don't know. You don't know.
And who knew that would have been, such a big deal? It seems, easy. Like, of course, we're going to pick you up, or want you to have a good experience. That's why we aligned, and that's obviously why I'm here, because of that connection. That we're going to do the little things that what's right. It really gets back to what's right. And how you want to be treated.
Yeah.
So
very cool. How do you break into a new client or a new relationship, or what are some of the things that you do to just start the conversation with someone new?
Yeah. So, if I research, like who we want to add to the stable as a client, or, what I do is I ask my peers, like mechanical contractors that I go, who are you working for? Who are some of your best clients?
Yeah.
And then I try to get like a recommendation because it carries a little bit more weight.
Sure.
Yep.
And then the other thing is I don't just have relationships at the general contractor level where 99% of our contracts are direct from architects, engineers. They can't award work, but they're in the same circles.
Yeah.
So then you can get recommendations, or they say, hey, and then if I get like a new client, like to go to a game, my other strategy is I have a longtime client come with us because they expect me to say how great we are. But if owner can talk,
Right.
they're going to say, hey,
smart.
here's what Smitty did. Here's what their team did. They really did this or that. I let them sell me. I just facilitate it and tee it up.
Right.
But that's tactical and intentional.
It's actually a very good tactic.
It's worked. I mean, I'm still here.
Yeah.
I'm old and people still like to go out with me at times. So
You're always a good time to go out with. Oh my gosh. We got some good times.
life is short. So no, I just definitely want to, we got to work hard and play hard.
Absolutely.
And Royals definitely has the fun culture. And, it's my job is to make sure all the clients in the industry knows that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you keep, do you have a Rolodex in your head that's kind of like files everything by
Because you're not the social media guru.
You're not, and that's what I wanted I wanted to touch.
Is it
on
time
that.
for a break? Or
Yeah.
we're done yet? Oh my God. I am a dinosaur of technology. That is so, okay, go on.
And that was going to be a question of mine for you is, you're not on the social media platforms. You're not as active on, LinkedIn or any other things.
I'm not active.
at
I'm not
all,
on
right?
anything.
I don't think
I don't
you're
even know if you
on.
are on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
I don't
think he is.
I didn't set it up. I'm sure someone might have set me up for something, but I wouldn't know a password one.
So that's
people say, because in college they come out, they're like, oh, we got to have all these networks, we got to be on every social media app. And
I do lunch and learns for our interns about getting on, more LinkedIn and building their network and keeping your contacts. But
I might have just been that transition of old school where, because it was personal, because like I get calls every other week for non-electrical stuff. Like it could be, someone's looking for a car dealership for their wife's car. Who do I know? It's just my network has just grown kind of crazy. I remember years ago, like the American Airlines Center called me and said, hey, our insurance people said we need more AEDs for safety, around the building. And they're like, do you know a guy? And I'm like, actually, I do. So I called, a friend of a friend, do a quote. And they're like, well, hey, we don't want to spend the extra money for it. It's on the budget. Can we trade you some suites? And so then I buy the ADs, just do a fair trade.
Yeah.
And then it was interesting because there was a hockey player that had a heart episode on the ice.
Oh, wow.
And they took him in the tunnel and they used the AD that we just added to save his life.
Wow.
And they're like, and then of course she's like, hey, do you want me to put your name on this thing? Or I go, no, because if it goes wrong, I'll be sued. So just take it for the transaction. So I guess on the social media also, because also I don't think I'm not a big, with my inner circle, I like to, flex a little bit and say, hey, we're at this game or whatever. But
Sure.
I don't want to take you to a game and show the whole world, but then you didn't get invited.
Ooh.
And I think that gets back to my brother stuff where I'm just more sensitive of what other people think.
Yeah.
So I don't need to show like I'm at this
Here.
great event,
Yeah.
and then you're not.
And you're always at great events every week.
Well,
Always.
and that's
And a lot of those are personal. It's not even, just the work related. Like you're always doing cool stuff.
well, like what happened with the broadcast radio folks. They were broadcasting the Super Bowl in Dallas, and at the last minute, like 10 of their executives from New York wanted to come in. So then they call me and go, hey, we need a table for 10 Saturday night before the Super Bowl. I'm like, that's like impossible in Dallas. But we built the Jewel Hotel. I knew the chef, blah, blah, blah. I got him a table. And so then they started taking me into all the Super Bowls just to be their fix-it guy and just whatever. I go, you give me the Super Bowl, I'll go, and I'll support you. And then what is it? So then the funny thing is, I was at the Super Bowl in New Orleans, and that was the one a while back when the 49ers and Ravens were in there, and the power went out. And it just happened to be right at halftime. I walked into the broadcast booth just to check in, take some pictures, send to the family, all that stuff. And the power went out in the second. And so it's all dark, temperature's rising. When they realized there's nothing terrorist attack, it was just an outage.
Yeah.
But he's on the dark on the radio. And so he's like, had to get on a cell phone to call LA to go, this is coast to coast radio. And I'm like, hey, I'm whispering in his ear, like, this is a minimum 30-minute shutdown. You got to fix the problem. It's not one switch ring. And he's like, shush. I'm like, oh, sorry, you're busy. And he goes, no, save it. When we come back from the commercial, I'm going to put you on the air as our referee expert of electrical. And I'm like, well, first of all, you're Spanish broadcasting, and I don't. He goes, I'll translate. And I go, there's one other kicker. This is my third day in New Orleans. I've been drinking. And he goes, Smitty, you're all I got. I'm like, okay, put me on the air. And so then when I came back to Dallas, and the job sites are like, how are you all the Super Bowl? And we heard our company name and all this stuff. I go, that's me.
So cool.
Well, then that relationship, because I helped him on the dinners and all that, and then I helped him on that broadcast. So then he was actually trekking up Mount Everest. He did Kilimanjaro, and then he was doing the thing, and he ended up taking the Royal Electric flag up the mountain. So it's in all the royal offices. So I'm really proud of that relationship.
That in our,
so people can see that.
Oh, okay, yeah. So cool. But that's just genuine relationships. And I think, who was it? Someone wanted Indiana Pacers NBA Finals tickets.
I don't know who that was. So weird. Oh, me.
And who did you call from California?
Smitty, of course.
And who went to the NBA Finals?
I sure did. Me and my husband were huge fans, and he had a connection. And we're circling around this, and it's the Do You Know a Guy, which should probably be the title of this podcast, because should be that.
Yeah.
And
I love saying that. I got a guy.
I got a guy.
It does feel good.
Got a guy. You got a guy or gal. It's fluid. And so people, and what I'm coming to learn from you right now is that you've made these connections intentionally and also unintentionally, just by doing what you do, which is be in kind and give back, where you feel like you can add value or add help, regardless of if something's coming back to you.
Yeah, it's never just
not.
For you. It's just the betterment of somebody else, or that you're helping somebody.
And in return,
it's very genuine.
It's so authentic and so genuine, and
more people should be like Smitty.
Yes,
that's very sweet.
It is, and you just are finding your path that way, which is just really cool to hear, that these little stories lead to doors, that lead to relationships, that lead to these connections that will help you secure tickets for your HR person. You know what I mean? Like, it's so crazy.
Yeah. I mean, who gets to take a client to a Super Bowl for free? That's an expensive deal, and that's where that's a pretty good connection. So that gets back to the day one. If I call a client's phone number, I'm not just calling up saying, I need you to give a contract, or I'm going to wear them out for pricing and this and that. I might be inviting them somewhere freaking cool.
So you picking up the phone.
Yeah, so you might want to take my phone call. That's what I tell myself. But, I live in my own world. But.
Oh no! But it feels as though it comes across that to me and to Leslie, and although sometimes we may feel like we're the same person, we're definitely not, and so we have lead different lives, and yet you have a similar impact, which is cool, and if we feel that, and we're seeing that others feel that as well, it's just neat to see you act consistently, and I think that's something that people can take away from here today, which this is going to lead into my next question, is like, would you say are maybe top 5 or maybe 10 if you have more, but what are some of those things that you need to do as a networker, as a relationship building person for an organization? What are some of those, top 5, top 10 things that you need to execute consistently? Obviously, consistency is probably one of them, but
I think with the when I talk about research or targeting people, put more effort into that, because it's just because someone's got a name and title, and then that gets back to that trust but verify. So you might say, hey, Leslie's pretty good, but guess what? I'm not going to build a whole sales plan because one person said that.
Right.
I want a different opinion.
Yeah.
So that's why I can go to suppliers and go, hey, what do you know about this person, or what have you heard? I heard you worked with them on this deal. Or I go to an engineer. Like I said, engineers can't hire us, but they're on all the design meetings, so they know which way the wind's blowing.
Yeah.
And it gets back. And like when you talk about being in the office, we can't build a project without the whole team. And there's technically we have departments of HR and CAD and design and all that, but to me they're just our internal customers. So I feel like they're my customers internally, and then there's external customers, so it's all the same.
Yeah. Those would be probably your two things that you would say would be things that these individuals should do professionally.
Well, yeah, because like I said, and don't just think you always got to go upstream to go get information, because like I said, the suppliers, they know everybody too, and
Right.
they have impact. I think a lot of people think they're in a certain pecking order, and so they can only go a certain direction, and you have no idea. And that's that whole thing of don't put up walls. You're like, well, why would why would this fire alarm guy know anything? It's like, well, because he's done 5 projects with that developer.
Yeah.
He might actually have a relationship with them. You don't know, so don't sit there and the harder you work earlier, the easier it gets later.
Yeah.
So those are just kind of some tidbits, if that helps.
Yeah, that does. And so again, going back to don't have social media. You can't like go on and like search, oh, who's that person that I was connected? How do you have like carry a black book with you? Do you
Just really remember everything?
or do you have it all in your brain? Like, how do you track that stuff?
Yeah, most of it's in the head, but obviously the phone, my contact list is pretty extensive.
So do you have notes in your phone, like a phone number, and it says like their birthday is whatever, or little things like that?
Yeah, their wife's name, their children,
okay.
and then as we got more tech savvy at work, obviously we use Salesforce as a
right.
platform.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I've customized some things to add hobbies and stuff, so you could do more client profiles in there too. That way, it kind of cascades the learning, because
others can put in some of that information. And
so that's in process at Royal
Yeah.
to maximize that.
That's
You got to be careful, because you got to teach people. Go, well, don't just sit there and goes, oh, she has a daughter named Lisa who's 7. I go, 7 in what year? Because if I look at this 3 years from now,
Oh, right.
you don't want to sit there and go,
7-year-old
oh, how's Lisa in middle school? And she's like, oh, she graduated. Because that's 10 years old. So you just gotta think, of your coworker and how they're going to use the information or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the main thing also is, like I said, I've never wanted salespeople to be on commission, or this is your account, my account, because then you're kind of competing against each other.
Yeah.
We got to sit there. If you're bringing a team or a potential project and you're bringing one, what's the best for the company? What's the best use of the resources? Not just financially, safety wise, logistics on the men and women. Those are factors. And so if your compensation based on that, because I don't want you to just cut your number just because then you get a commission check and then we're tied up for crappy work for 5 years.
True.
So, and like I said, just like it takes so many of us to build a project, our GC clients in any business, there's more than one decision maker. So you have to get connected at a level, because some people are not going to like me.
Yeah.
And they're going to be more connected to, just different personalities. So that's why, and that's the great thing about when I do the bigger group activities, because if you just do seats, there's literally only room for like one VIP, one, me or whatever, the owner, and then the person on the end you can't even talk to. But if you can do a suite or do some sort of group setting, then you can come and you can bring your 2 right-hand people that normally don't get attention, and then I can bring all my staff who can't be the lead. They can't host the whole event, but they can learn by seeing and then slowly build a connection. Because if we go to an interview or a final deal and we haven't met or we've already lost, in my opinion. So that's, like when we are presenting like next week on some deal, I go to that office, I get the lay of the land. I find out what conference room we're in, what the IT setups are, even though I don't know how to fix the IT. I find out what the technology is in the room, and I even work out a seating chart for our team of how I want a sitting to present. So the right people are connected at the hip, like you guys feed off each other like this.
Yeah.
I want my project manager and superintendent, because if they're answering questions, I want it to come across as a team.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're hiring.
Totally. We were just talking about that, we may not be the right sauce for everybody, right? And or we may
about that in the car.
In the
way
car.
here.
No,
and then
stop that. Stop putting up walls like that.
I know, right? I love this. Stop putting up walls. Or, we may not like people the same way, right? She might like someone and I may think the opposite. We have different perceptions of people, and I feel like what I'm hearing from you, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but leveraging the people next to you to build those relationships too may be helpful in making that connection or that bond, or opening the doors of communication as well. If that's what I'm understanding when you set up these meetings.
I always think that too, because sometimes I feel like I'm a lot for people, and I have to learn to tone down for some people, because I'm like, hey, how's it going? Excited, and everybody's like, Jesus, like,
yeah,
calm down.
See, I like that, so that's good.
I know.
Yeah. So I think that that's a good thing to remember, that we may not know the importance of having the right people in the room and being able to leverage those other relationships to get you in that door, or maybe learn more about someone.
Yeah, I don't know where I'm at on my top 10 list, but the other thing is if they want to do like an estimated scope review, take someone else with you, because if you're in the meeting, going through the technical, you can't be reading the meeting. And that's why I love that book by Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference, because it's about hostage negotiation, where there's like a team of people listening to the bad person to make sure you're picking up on everything. So like I said, I can go to a meeting where I don't know any of the details of the proposal, but I want to be there so I can read the room. And that's the beauty of the face-to-face. And like you said, and listening. And it's the same thing. So when you're initially meeting a client, listen more than talk. They'd say you have 2 ears, 1 mouth. That's your ratio.
That's actually really good for, I think, salespeople or recruiters or, anybody in that space, is to listen. And I've had to actually tell myself that, of don't
to be
talk
quiet?
so much. Yeah, just shut that. Just shut
To
up.
shut up.
Well,
Shut the fuck up.
I know it's not good for podcasts, but the most self-control thing you got to do is, can you handle silence?
Oh, it's so hard.
Like you're right there. You didn't, guys, both of you just didn't even wait a second.
No, we hate silence.
I've been trying to really work on it.
Yes.
So when you talk to clients and they're like, well, this price is ridiculous. I go, well, that's based on this real market stuff. How am I supposed to go back to my boss and say, you are going to cut it this, and just got to pause and let them fill in and add to it, because people get nervous and then they just start rattling like I'm doing now.
It's the same thing with interviews too, where it's you ask the question. A lot of times you kind of want to help them out, but you have to pause. Yeah, we learned that years ago with our first boss.
Yes,
of just stop, let them.
It's their interview. Let them fill in the answer.
And then it uncovers, because like you said, you always heard phrases of unpacking things. You want to get through the superficial, because like I said, there's the meetings where you just go to someone's office and like, hi, I'm so and so from this company, and everyone's got their speech. They're got the defenses up. Yeah. You're doing your 30-second elevator speech, and it's just very superficial. And that's why we do lunches when we break bread, and you kind of buying their time really, just so you can get them out of their office where they're focused. And that's why I said, when I attract salespeople in the past, I want to know, are they meeting you after hours for happy hour or dinner or at a conference, because it's a more meaningful time. I like that you're getting information in the office, but for long-term tracking, and like it's more of a predictive indicator. You can always look at the end of the year of like what someone sold, but kind of like what's a leading indicator. And I always thought how many face-to-faces people are having with clients is going to lead to better outcomes, because it's really hard to have KPIs for sales, because it's usually all or nothing.
Right. And that's where I was going to ask, and it's a perfect segue into that, is there any key indicators of performance, aside from obviously getting the win, right? And you could see how many calls you've made, and versus like how many people you've actually moved forward with in terms of
performs.
But is there some key indicators of like whether or not your relationships are you developing the way you thought they were going to lead?
Well, obviously profitability is a factor, but I never would commission salespeople on the performance at the end because they have no operational control.
Right. Yeah.
So if it's a production issue, if it's installation and whatever, it's not fair to the salesperson. You know, all we can do is say, hey, we teed it up and this is what we think the profit should be.
Right.
And then obviously over time, you find out stuff's missed, then that's on whoever estimated and sold it, stuff like that.
Right.
I think like anything, and it's like kind of like I tell our team, I go, 9 times out of 10, the answer could be yes, but that one time, the answer could be no. And that's why we have to have 30-second huddles up. Like, here's what they're saying. Like, if they give you a list of questions by email, I don't want you just to email them back. I want to have a conversation. I go, start working on it, and then go, hey,
this is what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
It's actually really good advice because I feel like most would just be like, okay, I'm going one by one, you know,
Right.
through the, you know, emailing back your questions and.
Yeah,
Again,
you need to know
can't
where
assess tone.
Yeah, you need to know where you're at on those. You know, are you $1 million low, or are you $2 million high? And you know, and go, and because there's always gray areas of what's included or not. It's not always cut and dry. So you got to kind of make sure you're managing the risk and providing value for the client.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's something that people do that they probably don't realize is affecting their reputation?
I think it's how they truly behave in team meetings, you know, because that's some people just go in their old ways, or that I talk about the pecking order. You know, there's collaborative mindsets, and it's funny because I've seen it before, especially in the hospitals. You know, 10 years ago, we did a ton of hospitals that were all IPD collaborative, so all the subs had a key seat at the table. And it's funny how the team operated when the owner was in the room
Versus when he wasn't.
then when he left away, and then that's when the hammer came out.
Oh, interesting.
So you lose a lot of respect for people when they change.
Yeah.
Just always be yourself, your authentic self.
Totally.
Well, and then what do you do under stress? And, you know, and we were meeting a client just a few months ago, and we were talking about the pain point. I was saying, hey, the only thing worse than, you know, I always talk about we're going to be vocal partners. A lot of times you don't like it at first because it just seems like we're complaining or pointing out schedule issues, whatever, but it's really for the better project. And usually towards the end of the project, there's a lot more respect and appreciation for that. You know, we're a sub partner that helped get you to the finish line, or did you have to drag us to the finish line? So we try to always add value. And the client told he's opened up at some big problem he had. And when he told it to the owner said to him, when did you find out about this problem? He didn't care about the dollar amount. He goes, when did you find out about it? And he goes, last night. And that meant all the difference in the world because he came straight to him. He didn't sit on it for 2 months. So that just reinforced the only thing worse than bad news is bad news late.
Yeah.
So things like that.
Yeah. Is there a time where you just walk away? Like, when's a good time where you just say, okay, this relationship isn't going anywhere?
Yeah, you know, sometimes at the end of the year, you got to look, you know, evaluate your clients and go, okay, they're great people, but it's not working out for us. But then the key is you don't fire them and just say, we're done with them. And this is for all industries. You got to go have a conversation with them and let them know they're being fired.
So no ghosting?
What?
No ghosting where you just don't talk to them again?
Well,
ever?
Well,
You're big, but it's a small.
You'll run out of contractors, or you'll run out of sales prospects if you just get mad and stop.
Yeah.
But if you sit there, because then what you do is you motivate them going, hey, Royal Electric or Contractor Z has been quoting all the stuff. And if we're just going to always be buying low and they're just not, you know, just because you need 3 bids or 5 bids to go to your purchasing agents and your whatever, doesn't work for us financially, you know. So I can go to all these walkthroughs and we can spend all this money, and then if you just kind of go, hey, this might not, you know, it's not really good for us, and then you see what they do from there.
Yeah.
So you give them a chance, because here's the deal: if you don't let them know, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? If you don't let them know, and that gets back to having the courage to ask the deeper questions instead of just saying, oh, I'm in the ballpark. Go, keep working on all this stuff and go, hey, if I can find all these parts that you can't find, and if I can put this project and put this in budget, is it our job?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, even though that person cannot guarantee you the contract, if they just be motivated to fight for you, you want someone in the room when you're not in the room fighting for you, because their team has to pick and make decisions. So I just try to keep teaching people that look at it from their point of view. But also you got to kind of call them out and go, hey, we're adding a lot of value. But if I spend 2 years bidding jobs and I get nothing,
yeah,
shame on me for keep doing it. But shame on me if I don't tell you, go, hey, this is not working out financially for us.
Right.
We are in it to make money. And that's another thing. Some people are afraid to say that.
Mm.
You know, we weaponize, we want to keep the customer happy and the customer's right.
Ooh.
Who pays our bill?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to be loyal to our company.
Yeah.
And I think that's just that's a challenge for all people, because you have to have the courage to say it's not fair. But we all have to eat things and lose money at times. But you know,
Sure.
you got to keep score in your head, going, okay, he really called the partner card on this one. We'll see what happens next time. And if it's always a one-way street.
Yeah.
It's just not.
And the same thing with my vendors of like, hey, I go, hey, I'm in financial trouble in this one. Give me a discount on this or help me out. And then tee something else up for them later, or, you know, not beat them up on price every time.
Mm-hmm.
You basically treat them like you want to be treated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are just
Yeah.
lessons learned.
Lessons learned. Do you work with people that you just hate working with them, but you have to work with them?
I wouldn't say hate, but yeah, and that's the thing. People are like, oh, it's so cool. You get to go to these guys. I go, I'm not going with my college friends. I'm not going with my kids to every game. You know, I'm taking clients. And that's another number 6 on our list.
Yeah.
Just because I like hockey and I like 80s rock bands doesn't mean that's all I entertain. I mean,
True.
if my client, and I had some that were in a band in the church choir, well, guess what? Then we're at Trans-Siberian Orchestra, which is not my first choice, but it was a good for that circle of friends. So, you know, I want to be genuine, but you also got to be smart. Go, hey, these people don't like to drink. These people do drink, and you know, give them something, because you are, you know, it's the business side of it.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Is there anything that you would have, anything that you wish you would have done as a career, or what would you, let me rephrase this. What would you be doing if it wasn't what you're doing now? Is there anything that you, like your dream job, or anything that you wish you would have done, or?
You know, I really, because I caught fire in college in construction, and I never really thought of anything else. I mean, obviously my family thought I'd be a teacher or lawyer because I like to talk. My friends say I'm the mayor of nothing, so maybe politics. I don't know, but I don't know.
I love that.
So
You're right where you're meant to be.
yeah.
Yeah. What's next for you, Smitty? What's your next big catch? What are you thinking?
Well, just like I said, you know, I been at Royal now for going on 4 years, and you know, just trying to just grow their Texas market. So that's why I like the challenge of kind of, you know, growing, because you know, I was 20 some years at my last place and grew pretty big, and now it's great to be at the foundation again. And it, you know, obviously Royal's in other states and markets, so it's not truly ground zero. So it's great,
right.
And Royal Electric has so many diverse different divisions, so it's not just a one-trick pony. So
True.
So it's just like it's just a different mindset, and I just like the Royal culture because it allows me to be me.
Yeah.
And they value what I bring to the table, and it's just been an alignment for day one with Dina and I.
Yeah.
And so like I said, I got to have that pride and joy of who I represent.
Yeah.
So I'm not going anywhere.
Oh, that's great.
We're glad.
I know.
Thanks.
We're glad to hear that.
But
too.
what trips do you have coming up?
Yeah.
Because you're always on the move.
Oh, well, personally, I'm going to Spain with one of my sons and meet my daughter who's abroad. And then business-wise, there's some clients that want to partner with Royal now that we're getting bigger and all that.
Yeah.
And so they want to co-market some trips. So we're actually going to go to Idaho and check out a fishing resort so something for next year. So that's another attention to detail. We don't just book something and take a bunch of clients and then the logistics aren't good.
Right.
Because those are lessons learned.
Sure.
I remember one time we got something from a charity auction, and I went up to Colorado, took some guys fishing, and it turned out to be in a Christian camp. That the Christian camp for children was in full occupancy. They the owner donated to the auction
Didn't know
as
the dates.
for a cabin, And then all of a sudden I'm here with a bunch of men that are kind of want to drink and fish.
Yeah.
And then we haven't signed background checks. So they're making us eat in the kitchen because we're not allowed to be around the children. And we're just like, what the heck?
Oh, no.
So now I can take my long-term clients and I'll screw them over because they've been along for a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
But you got to be thoughtful and think and be respectful of their time. When you plan their travel, I look at total travel time from door to door, not just it's 3-hour flight, but if it's 3-hour flight and a 5-hour drive, is that good use? So kind of anal on that sometimes, but if you don't think that way, because the clients, it's their time away from their family. So I want to always pick something that's valuable.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So what would be some takeaways? Like if someone's listening right now to this podcast, what would be some simple steps that they could start doing today, minor shifts to help build their network, build their connections, maybe start establishing new relationships? What would be some takeaways that they could take from today?
Well, re-look at your circle and find out who's really your internal customer.
Should we be doing? Even just personally, just revisiting your own circle. I feel like that's just
and then also figure out who you need to cut out.
Yeah.
Because I've had this discussion with other people who go, this client just consumes us, and it's not worth the squeeze. And just because you've done business with them 20 years, you gotta shift it. Because if you're tied up pricing stuff that doesn't work, you're taking away from other opportunities. So it doesn't mean you got to do more in a day or more in a week or more in a year. The most important thing is what things we need to stop doing.
Oh.
So we're really good about having planning sessions and adding more goals and more to-do lists, but you should also come out with a list, what are we going to stop doing? Because that gets frustrating to employees and teams when you sit there and add more stuff and but this other stuff doesn't work, but we keep doing it so I think I add value when we sit there and go, let's change this.
Yeah.
And it's simple things too. Just look at where their time goes.
Well, and relationships change too. You could have had a great relationship with a client 20 years ago, but ownership changes, people grow in different levels in their roles, and so, you have to really kind of assess that. And
the good clients can go to bad companies. So that's the other thing, because you got to sit there and go, so and so is really bad to us in the past. Well, now there's some good people there. So then you have to go promote that within your company and go, hey, here's why I'm passionate about this. This gal was really good to us when she was at this company. So let's not blacklist, and and just increase your odds of success.
Yeah.
But like I said, and get the intel from different points of view. Change your source.
Ooh. Yeah.
Like I said, that trust but verify. Just because one person says this job, I can give you a perfect example. There's a job where we were going after, or we were thinking about it, and I called one person, and they said there's like 6 bidders on it, and they're like really small competitors. So I'm like, we're not going to be low, and I don't want to be low.
Right.
We have too big of overhead. We got to compete. Luckily, I called his other peer, and he said, oh, yeah, all those people are bidding, but there's only one of those I'd even consider hiring. Mm-hmm. So now I'm like, oh, so it's a 50-50 shot if we choose to bid it. Yeah. Because that's how I see it.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? We bid it. We got the job.
Wow.
But we never would have gone if I didn't verify.
Yeah.
So there's so many little stories like that of and that's what that Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, because they call it the black swan of information. It's one little detail that changes everything. Right. And you don't know it till you come across it, but you have to have your ears open and your mouth shut to pick up on it.
I love that ratio. 2 ears, 1 mouth.
My mom said that a lot to me, so I don't know what that meant. And then I guess my final takeaway, it's real simple, and I like it because it ties in electrical. Does the room get brighter when you enter it or leave it?
Oh,
and that's just kind of a good checkpoint of how you behave and how
the
you.
Smitty quote. You need to put it up on the wall.
Totally.
It's better than my other ones that I don't know if we can say.
Yeah, you can.
Because my friends, because if I say, hey, be at the airport here, we got this, everyone's like, people start asking questions, and they're like, hey, if Smitty says, just do it, right? So they say, if Smitty tells you tomorrow's Easter, go paint your fucking eggs.
That is pretty good. I love it.
We might need to censor that one a little bit.
No, that one's perfect. I love it. Oh, well, we truly appreciate your time
that you took the time with us
and
today.
sharing with us. Oh, thank you. And just taking the time to share your experiences and your story, and hopefully offering anyone who's listening to this podcast an opportunity.
When it comes to relationships and building relationships and maintaining, you are top notch.
Top notch.
Yeah.
Top notch.
Thank you so much. That's very kind.
Excited to share this with people that are trying to build their network and build relationships. And a lot of stuff is just the old school way.
It works. It works.
It is. Selfishly, this is what I was looking forward to, because I could definitely use from, more on the building relationships, and any tips or tricks that I can learn from is always helpful. Dealing with people every single day, you're navigating different situations. You experience that as well. And there's so much to that with regards to people and relationships. And so you've given great tips on how to utilize, our networks and things to consider. So it's been fun.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, cool. Well, until next time, which will be next month.
Yes.
And
back on track.
Back on track. Probably back in Sacramento. But thanks for joining in. Till next time.
See ya.
See ya.